Ba, 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 ba. Oh shit. I need to have this up. Let's see, and then we do. We do this also. That's done, and then yes, and then we can also do something like that. Okay. P1 with Nath and Tommy, what's called, have done the race review. And then after the 44 minutes long clip, the race have maybe some new stuff on Christian Hornet and yeah, whatever just Verstappen. Yeah, been talking. But before that, we will see what their review will be on this amazing race that happened. Not yesterday. Oh well, almost yesterday. But for me, it's 1 hour and 44 minutes too late to say yesterday. But yeah, let's see if they have anything, if they have any good review.
Hello everybody and welcome back
No hello.
to the P1 Max Verstappen podcast with Matt and Tommy. Today we are, of course...
And also, back to the fun stuff in Minecraft. Hype. It will be... The start will at least be the roof. The roof is on fire. And then we will see how... most likely this will not take a long time, but who knows? But whatever happens after this, we will still be watching the review.
Reviewing the first race of the season. We are back. Formula 1 in 2024. And what a delightful...
Oh my god. I mean, hearing people saying, oh, everything is so close, and then seeing how further away everyone was after Max wins the race. And now 1 lap after.
Full nail-biting fight it was between Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo for P13 and P14 on the cool-down lap. Am I right, Tom Bellingham?
Actually,
what
true.
A race. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, Formula 1 is back, and it's like it's never been away for many reasons why it feels like 2023, the sequel. But we'll get into it.
The good sequel. It's even better, maybe.
We certainly will. Before we do, want to quickly do a shout out for our P1 live show tickets. If you haven't got them already, we're doing Cambridge, Bath and London, middle of April. Come and join us, meet like-minded Formula 1 fans. People have come on their own, people have come in groups. It is such a wonderful experience. We'd love to see you there.
No.
Link will be in the description and all over our socials.
Not be there.
Okay, let's start with our most memorable moment. And my most memorable...
The start. When you just slowly see Max just... For some reason just... get further and further away the group after him.
Moment. When it ended.
Wow.
When
what ended?
The the season, the race. I don't know. The race, like it actually, at the beginning, not with Max necessarily, but from P2 down to P5, it looked promising. It looked like we might get a serious battle between Perez, Sainz, Leclerc, and Russell. We had to almost immediately start imagining that Max Verstappen didn't exist in Formula One, and that was the battle for the lead. And it seemed like it could, that could be the thing that gives us entertainment throughout the race. But that didn't really come to fruition either, and it was quite a mediocre race. Let's be real here. There were small moments, but not a lot. And Bahrain is a great track, in my opinion. And I felt like it didn't deliver anywhere near to the level that we've come to expect from it. You've said before, Tommy, that it's quite an underrated track in a lot of people's books, and I completely agree. I think it's right up there as a track that should promote lots of overtaking, but we didn't really see it. So it was quite a slow ending to the race as well. The only thing that we were invested in was Magnussen, Ricciardo and Tsunoda because of Tsunoda's team radio. That's the only thing we were kind of locked in with for the last few laps. And then obviously that big battle between Ocon and Gasly for 17th when Gasly had gone in the pits for fresh softs. What controversy and drama.
You do wonder how Formula One are going to spin it with these graphics. They have things like the fight for 17th. But yeah, it was a flat start to the season, sadly. Obviously, cover the elephant in the room. I'm sat here wearing a Max Verstappen t-shirt, and Max is my favourite driver. But, and I've said this so many times, I don't think it's a surprise that he won. It certainly wasn't. But it's a shame that not a lot of other stuff happened, I think. We've seen so much dominance in the past, and I know a lot of people will be sort of doom and gloom that it looks like Max is a long way ahead, to say the least. But I think the problem for me is that race really didn't deliver in other aspects. Normally, we're here sort of beating that drum of going, look, well, there's so much other stuff in Formula One to look at. Look at the midfield. Look at the battle for second. And apart from the Ferrari
because
battle for
it was
bit,
so close.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of moments in the race. You don't need every Grand Prix to be like this absolute wall-to-wall entertainment battle. But yeah, a lot of times you just looked at the order, nothing would happen for 10 laps before you'd seen an overtake, and you look at the gaps, and everyone, no one's within DRS, and then even when they do get within
Formula
DRS,
1, Formula 2.
I mean, yeah, where's this overtaking? Oh my god, the new cars are going to be so easy to overtake. And then you watch Daniel Ricciardo on soft tyres can't get past a Haas at Bahrain, which is meant to be an easy track to overtake with DRS.
Yeah,
Sorry,
DRS enabled on lap 1 did a lot as well, didn't it?
Did nothing.
That, if anything, just created a DRS train in the midfield, which didn't actually promote all too much chaos either. And Verstappen was clear by a second, pretty much by the end of lap 1. So there wasn't much to really rave about with that either. A question from P1 Patreon member James BWFC22. Is there any chance they can bring the 2026 regulation changes forward to 2025? Obviously a joke from James. That's not going to happen because teams have to prepare for said regulation changes. But what I will be aware of, and what Formula One and Liberty Media are going to be aware of, is the exact picture that is being painted before them with the sport and its current state. They hit, in 2021, through Drive to Survive and the early years of that, some amazing peaks for the sport. The interest through the roof. But the thing is now, it's dropping. The interest is, of course, going to start to wane and start to dip because people don't like domination. A lot of sports, there is some level of unpredictability for the win. But for some reason, Formula One cannot have two teams create a similarly paced car at the front of the field. Hardly at all. Obviously, 2021 was a pipe dream. But apart from that, maybe the start of 22. But every other year, it just seems like a team get it right, and then one driver is so clear of the other one, and that's what Formula One is. So I think that, yes, there isn't much we can do between now and 2026. I thought Red Bull might take it a little bit easy this year so that they don't do anything
No, they
drastic
did.
for 25. But no, Max was like, I want to drive fast and I will.
At least in 2025, we have, looks like we're going to get, well, we are going to get one huge change, and I think that will have that kickstart effect on everything else. I think we've gone into this new season as well.
Stay kick sober.
The pecking order is very, very similar, to say the least. No driver changes. So there's not even that narrative of, like the...
Med skärmbutik från
No,
kunder och strålande
stop
priser från
that.
oss. Sök efter vad du än behöver på amazon.se idag.
Yo, out there.
First race of the next season, you'll have all these driver changes and things, and I think the problem is the first race was just a bit of a flat feeling because there was so much excitement for Formula One to be back. There always is. We complain about it's not going to be this or that, but we all sit down and watch it, and it just sadly didn't deliver. And for me, the most disappointing thing is just the raceability of the cars. They just don't seem to have that anymore, and they're in a bit of a pickle. And I just don't think it is just because of Max Verstappen. Obviously, that is a huge factor because we had that race for the lead, and you always want to see races for the lead. But you look at the order, and it's like 2 Ferraris. Say Hamilton didn't have the issues, it probably would have been 2 Mercs, 2 McLarens, 2 Aston Martins. No retirements.
They would have literally been 2 by 2.
Yeah, 2 by 2. No retirements. No one within DRS. People unable to pass. And I think the problem... it's not even just the problem that 2021 baited us into this season. 2022 started off really exciting, and they also, this was like Liberty's, these regulations is like Liberty Media's and Formula One's new master plan to make really close field easy to overtake.
Come on.
Budget cap so everyone's really close and stuff like that, and it's not working. It's really not working.
I guess this kind of leads us quite nicely into the next question, which is from QB Coach Mika. How does F1 fix their issues of it being a snooze fest? I mean, Formula One have been trying to fix issues of dominance for forever, basically, because they allow for it to be an open-ish sport in terms of creativity, and of course, there's technical regulations, there's things they have to abide by, but you allow teams to try and come up with the fastest car possible. This is unfortunately what you will get from just a basic understanding of Formula One. That is unfortunately what you will get.
I mean, you can't blame Mercedes. There's so much talk about they have the people, they have the factory industries and all this stuff, and if they fail making a good car, I mean, just blame them.
You look at it could be a spec series, but then that loses what Formula One is all about.
Yeah, then you have Formula 2, Formula 3 and IndyCar. Really fun stuff.
You have the cost cap, which in some ways works, but in other ways works completely against trying to get a battle at the top of the field, because if you don't have a regulation change for 3-4 years, and Red Bull get it so right, and everybody else gets it so wrong, they can't spend any more money than Red Bull because there's a cap, which means that everybody is limited to a certain level of development and
that's amazing.
Parts and all that sort of
Mercedes
stuff.
can never
So maybe,
be good again.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Just to counter that, though, that I have been thinking about that narrative of, because of the budget cap, no one can catch Red Bull. But the fact that Red Bull have completely changed their car, they've not even just made it better or kept it the same, and no one can catch up because they can't spend money. They've made a completely different car, and we all know how good Red Bull and their design team and Adrian Newey is. But it is frustrating because, surely if they can completely change the concept of their entire car and still be dominant, if not even more dominant, why can none of the other teams do that? I'm not expecting Haas or whatever to do it, but Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, they have big budgets. They're at the top of this budget cap as well, and it is such a shame because we know how good it can be, and we've seen it before. Even 2013, Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull were dominating. You had races where Ferrari, McLaren...
I mean, the season had already started. Come on. I have beliefs in McLaren and Ferrari that they will at least win one race each. Is that good enough?
Mercedes, Red Bull, they were all winning, and it was like... It was close in that regard, but yeah, it's not now. It's annoying. It's very annoying. And this is me as a Max Verstappen fan. I'm a Formula 1 fan first.
I mean, this Max Verstappen fandom, I hardly believe that's actually true. It can just be fake.
I want to see close, exciting racing. I supported...
I mean, why say you're just Max Verstappen fan then? You can say you're a Norris fan, Perez fan, Leclerc fan, Alonso fan. Probably mostly... I mean, Alex Albon win with Williams. That would be amazing.
Max, because he was an exciting driver that made daring overtakes and things like that. So when he's 25 seconds in the lead, I don't get to see it. And I know that's like smallest violin in the world that he's winning all the races. And you're like, oh, I must feel really sorry for you. But I want to see good racing. I want to see good racing.
You're here to watch entertainment. You're here to watch competition. And the only people that Verstappen are passing are Logan Sargent, Bottas, Gasly, Ocon, Hulkenberg, and so on. And that's to lap them. It is interesting, the whole budget thing. You know, whether there is a world where the winning team can only spend a certain amount the next
like
year,
an
and then it kind of goes up.
Thing.
That, like, you know, Williams and Alpine.
They maybe need to do more cost cap. What do you call? They spend more money than they're allowed to do, and so they can get more punishment.
And whoever else has finished at the bottom this year can spend a lot more to develop their car. I don't know, because obviously they do have that in the sense of maybe big brain thinking. They want that wind tunnel time, because they do it for the wind tunnel, but they don't do it for the amount of money you can spend. I'm sure there are reasons behind that, but it's in the same breath, you have to commend Red Bull for what they've done. And it's clearly worked so well for them in this current era of regulations. And as you say, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin, they've all got these insane facilities.
Come on, it's just started. They will be better. They just didn't get the car right.
Build a Formula 1 car, and they cannot do it. They can't catch them. It's as simple as that.
And this is in an era... This is what blows my mind the most, that if from 2010, so what is that, like 15 seasons of Formula 1, only 2 teams have won the championship. It's just flipped between dominance between the two of them, right? And
thanks for reminding me.
Sorry, Ferrari fan, and you, Matt. But what is frustrating is these regulations. You go back to, I don't know, like the mid-2000s or whatever. I'm sure the rule book was nowhere near as complex. They weren't doing all these things to try and make it closer, or you know, like the promise of these new regulations was that it gets them closer racing, and people can't be miles ahead and spend more. Yet we're in the period of the most dominant like time in the sport ever. So like, what are these regulations that can happen when the rule book was a lot more simple, or whatever? You did get different winners and things. It's very bizarre that is actually happening when they're trying so hard to make it close that it's not. Like, how does that happen? Do you know what I mean?
They're trying, and it's doing the opposite effect. Maybe they just stop trying, rip up the whole rule book, make
Just
what
say,
they want,
make a car.
and we get a 10-team fight for the championship. Come on. Right, Tommy, what's your most memorable moment? We could go on for 3 hours about how Formula One is finished. Let's move on to something else.
Please keep watching P1. My most memorable moment was the drive from Carlos Sainz.
Why?
He deservedly got driver of the day.
Still, I still don't understand why, but okay.
And the very little racing that we got, he also provided quite a lot of it. I think his move on Leclerc, sorry Matt, was
Wow, that was something. Yes.
very, very good indeed.
Why?
A surprise move. And yeah, it was a
I mean, Leclerc have problem with the brakes. Hard to pass him then.
it was a surprising drive after yesterday. Did not see that coming, that Sainz would be flying through the field and Leclerc having those
Perez was
issues.
flying.
So yeah, it was a really, really good drive from Sainz.
Fuck,
It certainly
what
was. Apparently, if
Oh.
I say anything nice about anyone other than Charles Leclerc, I am a Charles Leclerc hater, even though Carlos Sainz's drive was brilliant and he did get driver of the day. As you say, his moves were great. Of course, Charles Leclerc was slightly hindered by his brake problems, which
Yeah,
probably
true.
meant that Carlos could send the move.
I mean, the driver of the day, Max Verstappen, he led all the laps and won. That must be the driver of the day, yeah, surely.
Easier on his teammate. But that being said, Carlos still dispatched of George Russell. His pace was great. He was only a couple of seconds off Sergio Perez, which I think again is a really good effort, considering that Ferrari looking quite fragile, quite tentative at times.
Yeah, but did Perez drive just enough to keep him just 3 seconds? So what it was all the time? I mean, he didn't get closer. Perez just kept him the same distance. So was it really a chase to get Perez?
So yeah, I thought it was a great drive. Question from George Jensen 97: why are Ferraris so afraid of team orders? Sainz was clearly faster, but still had to fight his way through twice. Sorry, Matt, in brackets.
Yeah,
you don't have to apologise. I have fully processed the
fucking
fact
let
that
him
Charles
by.
Leclerc's had problems with his car in race 1 of 2024. I can understand
Oh, same start as last year.
Ferrari not kind of bringing in team orders immediately, mainly because Charles Leclerc, well, was their golden boy. I'm not sure about 2025. We'll have to discuss that one another time. Sainz is leaving the team. Do they want to ruffle Leclerc's feathers almost immediately? Probably not. So that's why they decided not to do it. Again, they are also afraid of team orders just generally. So that's another factor. And look, we like the side-by-side action. It's very close, but every time they do get close, that's as close as they get, and it is brilliant to watch, especially when I know they haven't crashed. So kind of watching the clips back are when I can fully appreciate that. But yeah, maybe Ferrari also have an element of trust between them. But yes, there is still a little bit of time lost with those two fighting, but realistically, it might have cost Sainz an opportunity to fight Perez, potentially. He was only finishing a couple of seconds behind him in the end.
Yeah,
But
why?
yeah, I'm sure they didn't really want to implement team orders immediately into the start of the season.
No, I can see why they did it. I mean, it's what Ferrari are like now, which is a strange thing to say, having grown up in the era of Michael Schumacher and them being that brutal team, or even a more recent history of like Fernando Alonso. And I remember one year where they literally broke Felipe Massa's gearbox on purpose to give him a 5-second penalty so Alonso could get the clean side of the grid. That is the extent that this team used to go to for a number one driver, and now they do seem like they're more willing to let them race. I will say,
Ruin
thank God
the Golden Boys race and make the other. They have no problem with. What's it called? first driver problem. They have a second driver problem. They make the second driver look better.
They do, because it was some of the only action we saw in the entire race. But boy, was it good when it did happen, because those two, I'd have put money on them of having a collision by now. I think when it was announced that those two were going to be together in Ferrari, and you saw a bit of it in the first season they were together, and I think we said so many times, like, they will crash at some point, and so by some miracle they haven't, because when they race wheel to wheel, they get so close. They did it again, not as extreme as Monza, but they somehow don't give each other an inch, but it is respectful.
They give each other an inch at the very last second that is humanly possible to give an
they
inch.
give each other a quarter of an inch. Basically.
Are you trying to think of like a centimetre or a millimetre? Or...
Yeah.
A quarter of an inch is very specific.
Yeah. Just smaller than an inch. Yeah. It's it's superb to watch, but I hope there's more of it, because probably not for Ferrari fans, because it gets the heart racing, but we need to see more of it.
But it was probably the best bit of entertainment that we had throughout the entire race. So,
yeah. And you can just see that already. Like, you do wonder, Sainz. I know it fits the narrative, and he will just want to do well, whatever. But you do wonder how much it is fired up by the fact that now he doesn't have a drive. And what I will say is, like, there'll be all the tweets baiting you, of course, being like, have they fired the wrong driver and all this kind of stuff, which, like,
they have not.
No, I don't think that's the case. But what it has done is shown that, like, Mercedes and Red Bull and these teams, like, need to look at Carlos Sainz, because it would be a huge waste for him to go to kick Sauber and be battling for 12th. Please no.
Certainly would. We'll have to see how that one
waste
unfolds. Next question from Abraham Joe 33. How is this Sainz Leclerc dynamic going to play out? I think it's going to play out with eventual collision. That's how I see it occurring. Especially, Ferrari is scared to do team orders anyway. Are they going to get on the phone to Carlos Sainz, who does not have a contract with them next year, to get out of the way for Charles Leclerc if that happens? I don't know. I don't know if they'd even want to face that reality of then realising what Carlos would say, which is probably, no, you can absolutely F off. I am not driving for your team next year. So I don't know. I think they get on really well. They're great wheel-to-wheel racers, both of them. It's evident of that. So I don't think it's going to change that much, their dynamic, unless they have a crazy crash for the lead of a Grand Prix. Then they may well despise each other forever, but that's just Formula One, isn't it?
No, I think they are very good friends.
I mean, if that's happened, are they still good with the wheel-to-wheel stuff then? Or was there always a copium?
I think Carlos even said it in that podcast we did with him, that one day when they're not, teammates, their relationship might even be even better, that they're like really good friends, and I think he said that he's probably one of the closest drivers that he is to outside of, with Norris as well. So yeah, they get on really well, and I don't think, unless something disastrous happens, it will change. Over the radio, it's always very different, and even if they do have those moments where, Sainz saying, jog on or whatever, or what, they'll just get over it. I think. I don't think it's gonna boil over at Ferrari.
It'll stand the test.
No, more out time. Oh my god, one more. Oh, we can skip it.
Of time. Next question, Slosh 4000. How do you think the season will evolve for RB with Yuki and Danny?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Let's see. I mean, the start, like everything about that was so weird. Like, why did that happen? Like, it was even not for any points. It's just like, why? So this could be a, who knows? I mean, more problems than people say Ocon and Gasly will have.
These two, eh? These two. Didn't expect... Did you actually see that Danny Rick said that Yuki was an effing helmet?
No.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's interesting. I didn't expect these two to kind of clash.
Yeah, what if you'd have said any teammate dynamic, who would be the biggest fight between, like, that would boil over the most? They might even be last on my list, you know.
Yeah, you just think that they would just, even if there was a problem, not say anything. I don't know, it just seems very strange. And for it to boil over so early in round one is a strange thing in itself.
We need more shots.
What's going on behind the scenes there that's causing this tension? Was it the fact that both of these drivers expected this year, with the hype, that RB would be a lot better, and perhaps just from a racing instinct side of things they're a little bit frustrated? I don't know, but I am fascinated to see if this is, you know, is this a one-off, or do they genuinely not really like each other, or I don't know. It just I think so
it's more
strange.
I think
that must be the race and how they felt the car was, because this is almost unhinged.
It's all from, if you missed it, Yuki Tsunoda's what happened at the end of the race, where because we didn't see this on the broadcast, but Tsunoda essentially dive bombed Danny Rick on the cooldown lap, and then sort of almost drove into him, or got like really close to his car and drove past to make a point. And what I would say is, as a Yuki Tsunoda fan, I was watching that race and I was annoyed. It happened so many times. It happened so many times at AlphaTauri where I'm like, Yuki's having a really good race. What is going on with strategy and all this kind of stuff? And then he just plummets down, because he was on for P10, P11.
He was fighting P10 with Zhou, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah, and he was, you know, ahead of Stroll. I don't think he would have got Stroll, because Stroll was coming back through the field. But P11 was definitely on the cards, and you do want to beat your teammate because that's what you're up against. So it was frustrating for him that he had a slow stop, and then he got a different strategy to Ricciardo, so Ricciardo could have the softer tyres. Danny Rick wasn't on his level, it seemed, all weekend, so I can understand his frustration that he's now finished behind him and had to let him through. But there's no excuse for, like, what has he got to gain for that? It's just hot-headedness, and just, however annoying it is, he's just putting himself in an awkward position with his team. Like, he's not going to get the better treatment or whatever if he's doing that, is he? He's just going to make it worse. If anything, they're going to fall out with him, and they're going to be annoyed at him. You don't want to start a civil war in your own team.
He might be preparing to go to Aston Martin.
Like, it's just ridiculous.
Especially when you think, where is he going to go next? Needs to put himself in the sort of driver
Aston
market
Martin.
Potentially, and you know, what
he's
is
a
gonna
really
happen
quick
to Yuki
driver.
Tsunoda's...
You're just gonna teams won't want to take the gamble on him if he's
Yeah.
doing stuff like that.
Especially, you know, does he want to race for Red Bull? That second seat is not absolutely categorically signed off for Perez.
I would say no. He's a Honda driver. I don't think Red Bull will want to put him in the Red Bull.
Or for anyone. So it is strange, because teams want someone that they can rely on, and for it to be a consistent figure, not someone that can occasionally go off the boil. That's the one.
Well, put it this way: if Tsunoda is doing that over P13 in the Bahrain Grand Prix, if you're Helmut Marko, you're going, well, say Yuki has the race of his life and he's leading, and Max is quicker and needs to win the race for the championship. This is like hypothetical. Mm-hmm. And Yuki Tsunoda is acting like that over P14. He's gonna, like, lose his mind over like having to let Max win a race or whatever, or have team orders, and they can't afford to have that in a team. Like that will affect you as teams like looking to hire you, because they'll be like, well, we can't give you orders because you put. It's not like talking back orders. You're literally almost crashing into your teammate on the cooldown lap.
Yeah, it's very silly.
Mad.
I'm sure he'll probably regret it.
Yeah, he will.
They'll move on, and this will be a no topic, and it will be squashed by Saudi, and they'll be best of friends. And I don't know, Sonoda will be riding on the back of Danny Rick or something into the paddock. But one thing that we did very briefly touch on was that he was fighting Lance Stroll, and I feel like we need to put some respect on Lance Stroll's name after the lap 1 incident to then claw his way back in an Aston Martin that wasn't very good, all the way up to P10, finishing just one place behind Fernando Alonso. So yeah, I think that Stroll had a great race. Again, one of those that you just don't see anything of him, and then he pops up and scores a point. And yeah, I think he deserves a little shout out.
It was very much a race like we saw a lot of the time in 2022, where didn't qualify particularly great, but it wasn't his fault at all that he got punted around at the start. So dropped all the way back, and then you're like, oh, Stroll's out of it, and then he's got a point. That happened so many times, I feel like, in 2022 when he was with Vettel as his teammate. And, he's done it again. It was a good drive.
Next question, Colky Doe. Does Haas have a chance of not finishing?
I mean, good drive, or was the car good enough for him to actually succeed with it? Who knows?
Finishing last in the Constructors after today's race. Kevin showed much better race pace than last year so far and defended against the RBs super well. I think Haas will be pleasantly surprised with their outing this weekend. Komatsu, as we heard and as we've spoken about, predicted that they would be last, and they weren't. Magnussen finished 12th, held off both the RBs. Hulkenberg was involved in that incident at the start, finished 16th. And I think the Haas looked like it was a little bit better on its tyre wear than perhaps previously. And they still have somewhat of one lap pace, as we saw with Hulkenberg getting through to Q3 yesterday. So I would say it's a positive look for Haas moving forward for this year. I will say that Haas usually are the best when they come out the blocks in the first round of the season and then slowly get slower because they don't have any money or anything to actually upgrade a car. But it's not looking too bad. So, yeah, I might have to apologise to them after predicting them finishing 10th in the Constructors.
I wasn't familiar with your game. Yeah, it's an impressive performance. Yeah, Magnussen, P12, didn't fall off a cliff like they have done, managed to stay ahead of the two RBs. And yeah, what might have been for Hulkenberg, maybe would have got P11, but again, I think I mentioned this on stream, but not going to be a lot of points available this season if...
Yeah, I mean, if they keep being where they are, Aston Martin will take the last points every time.
Essentially, we've got 5 top teams. In the first race of the season, there's not one retirement, which is mad.
Yeah, it really
because
is.
that is when cars have teething issues and stuff, and it's Bahrain. I know they had overheating issues and stuff, but they all made the checkered flag. Even Logan Sargent, steering wheel pooping itself, and then just decided to reboot and come back on, and carried on. So even he didn't even retire from that. Same with Bottas with a slow pit stop. Everyone finished, and that's going to make it extremely hard to score points. So it genuinely could be a case of a bit like last year, really, where a rogue wet race and a crazy result could be the difference between 7th and 10th in the constructors.
It certainly could, and they are ahead. I mean, if you'd told Haas at the beginning of the year you'll be ahead of Alpine, they probably thought, okay, all right, we're cooking. We might be
Magnussen
getting some
P12 in
points
the
every
title.
single weekend.
Yeah, then you learn. Okay, so where is Alpine then? Are they still what they were before, or is it they are not? What do you say? Haas is not faster. Alpine is just super slow.
But no, not quite. But they're definitely a decent light for Haas so far. Next question, Morgs F1. Will Alpine score a point this season? Without Bottas and Sargent incidents, they were 15 seconds behind at the end. I'm going to say they are going to score points. This must be the worst for them. Hopefully, fingers crossed for their sake, that this is the worst for them. You think of McLaren, they had a similar really poor start the last couple of years. So it is possible to figure out what's going wrong and fix it. And I'm sure Alpine will be able to find that. But as you said, Tommy, and as we've kind of been speaking about, this top 5 teams are pretty fast. I mean, Aston Martin, maybe you could argue, little bit off the top 4 this weekend, but I think that was a surprise. I think Lando said after the race that didn't really know why the Aston Martins were so far behind. So I'm sure Alpine will score a point, but it's going to be a difficult one. And this isn't an overnight fix. I can't see them turning up to Saudi and scoring points, for example. They've clearly got something fundamentally wrong with the car, because it's slow in qualifying and it's slow in the race. There's no saving grace at the moment.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to get worse for Alpine before it gets better.
They should just salt and Ratti.
A page called Racing News 365 have reported that 2 of the key figures in their in Alpine, in terms of like developing the car and stuff, have handed in their resignations and are playing out their notice period. So the technical director and head of aerodynamics. So if that is the case, yeah, they're in such a mess. It's not just they were in a mess last year, and it seems to be getting even worse. And if they're losing key personnel as well, they're only just going to sort of like get even worse. It could be a horrible long year for Alpine.
I was going to say as well, could this be the beginning of the end of Alpine's adventure in Formula One, full stop?
Yeah, probably.
If they're not doing their brand any good and they're struggling and they're trying to push these Alpine road cars,
it's not a good
and
look, is it?
9th or 10th, could that open up a spot for Andretti up the inside? I don't know.
Actually, true.
Right now, Alpine, they're going to.
There was already planned to have the Renault engine, so it will just make sense.
Forget round 1 and probably the next few races at the very least. Okay, let's go to biggest winner then, driver or team. My biggest winner, Max Verstappen, I think.
Literally.
I think it has to be, because he did win by a big margin. He's come out the blocks with a brand new philosophy of Red Bull car. It's still really quick. They've probably got a much higher ceiling than other teams in terms of development windows and development opportunities. Yeah, it's really bad. Formula One's okay. We'll turn up every week and we'll dream of a different pecking order. But yes, I think it has to be Max Verstappen biggest winner this week.
It's hard to say against Verstappen, isn't it? You mentioned Stroll earlier as a bit of an unsung hero. I'll also shout out Zhe Guan Yu, finished 11th, which is very impressive. But maybe I'll say Sainz, just because he doesn't have a drive next year, and I think this performance will, if he keeps putting in performances like this, it's going to be very fascinating to see how the driver market pans out.
Biggest loser. Who lost the most at the 2024 Bahrain Grand Prix?
Oh, the biggest loser. Charles Leclerc. He could remember have been P2.
Mine's going to be a team, and it's going to be Alpine.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yes, Alpine. I think close.
But they were already the biggest loser, so it's like, is that really something you can say is the biggest loser? Maybe.
Runners up are both Bottas and Sargent. Bottas he loves a long pit stop, that Valtteri, 52-second pit stop for him. And then Logan
And
Sargent
poor Logan,
steering wheel
actually,
turning off.
yeah, like, you know, I'm sure everyone's expecting me to do a joke about how he's still ended up P20 and he's P20 in the title at the moment, but he was running well. Williams maybe not as good as we thought they might be, but he was there or thereabouts with Albon, so it's a big shame that happened to him. They both had steering wheel issues, I think, which is a bit worrying because they were, of course, the team that for so long were running that steering wheel where they didn't have the big fancy like LED screen
no
on.
Silly technology. They just had it inbuilt in the car with like gear and how fast they're going.
Yeah,
maybe a few other things. But yeah, as soon as they've gone to something else, it's like, nope, does not work, which is very strange. But yeah, poor Logan, because as you say, he was doing all right. Right, let's now reflect on our predictions that we made all the way back on Tuesday, wasn't it? Because it was a day earlier. And let's see how well we've done. Biggest good surprise, I went for Lewis Hamilton. The only thing surprising was how particularly difficult his weekend was, to be honest with you. Not much to really talk about. Had a bad qualifying. And then just got stuck in the pack. I think he said after the race that had he started a few places further ahead, he probably would have finished there. But that's the
insane to me that it was only
qualifying
4 seconds off as well off Russell after all that.
After all the chaos, his seat breaking, I think he had some recharge issues or something like that as well. But yeah, that's just Hamilton, isn't it? He is decent in the race, but unfortunately not a lot of points to show for it this time. So I can't even argue 1/8 of a point. 1 inch of a point.
That was so beautiful.
A quarter of an inch of a point. Biggest good surprise I went for Fernando Alonso, which is looking quite good after qualifying. He was up there because my thinking behind it was not that he was going to do heroics like he did last year, but he'd be in that mix. But actually, Aston Martin fell into the exact place.
Man, here we have the start of the oh my god, the out, what do you say, mining out room. The fuck do I have? I'm not done. Where did I keep that? Well, this, how this look will soon look like, it will soon be like here also. A lot of fun stuff. Back to listen.
That everyone thought they'd be, which was behind the other 4 big teams.
Yeah, 5th fastest.
9th and 10th. So
Alonso was getting mugged because he was trying to fight, but just kept being overtaken. He was on a slightly different offset strategy, wasn't he? So we just saw him getting overtaken by everyone. But yeah, finishing 9th in no man's land, really. Aston Martin, which is a shame to see.
Mushrooms.
Biggest flop. Okay, let me sit up for this one.
Okay,
I went for Esteban Ocon, and I feel as though I deserve a point here because Alpine was shocking. Both drivers deserve floppy points, to be honest with you. Gasly finished 9/10 behind.
No, att I. Karad. Polestar. Eller Polestar.
Prova en rökig nyhet med krispiga lökringar och chipotlesås. Kanske med saftigt svenskt...
No.
His teammate. And I think anything associated with Alpine at the moment deserves a flop point. So
you can have it. There was a point. There was a moment where Ocon was like 30 seconds clear of Gasly, and I was going, "You're not going to get this somehow." For Ocon
and then I was like, "Oh my
17th.
god, no! Gasly's on softs. Oh, he's catching him at 4 seconds a lap. Come on, Gasly!" So,
the funniest thing about that whole situation is you could have said, like, if Gasly would have taken finishing like 12th or even maybe 10th and getting a point and not being Ocon, you know that he would have taken finishing 17th and just beating Ocon over a point. You know he'd have been so determined on that soft run, putting in qualifying lap after qualifying lap, seeing the delta to Ocon going down, going, I have to beat him. You just know that is the case. I went for biggest flop McLaren. Sadly, well, I say sadly not. I'm glad I was wrong.
They weren't floppy, but they weren't also
no. I said,
were they?
Yeah, I think
I mean, better than Mercedes. That's not. No, they were not better than Mercedes. I think Ferrari was better than Mercedes. McLaren was almost better than Mercedes.
Personally, was trying to claim that they would be like the worst of the best. So I think if they were behind Aston Martin, that's what I was kind of going for here. Yeah. But they did pretty good, and I think Lando said that this isn't a track that really suits them or ever has, so they'll take 6th and 8th.
They will, and also he kind of gave a little bit of hope, saying that he thinks that Bahrain and Redbull is pretty much a perfect track for them, and that this should be the biggest gap of the season. I'm praying that Lando is right, and we'll have to wait and see. But I guess it does make sense, right? It's an abrasive track. Redbull are really good on their tyres, and it just makes sense.
We saw that with their strategy as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, going soft, hard, soft. I mean, it's just a joke at this point, isn't it, really? Pole position. I went for Charles Leclerc, which I think was brave. I think it deserves a half participation point.
No.
Like, well done. Like, the first driver behind Verstappen deserves half a point. Thank you.
He actually got the fastest time in qualifying as well, didn't he?
Yeah, that's half a point.
No, I think that makes it even
fastest
worse.
Time in qualifying. I thought that's what it was. I thought that's what pole position is. I said fastest time in qualifying goes to
fastest on, well, Friday technically.
Yes.
Exactly. I went for Verstappen, and
well
he
done.
did
I
it.
hope you're very happy with the money.
Took a risk.
You did. You really did. Let's go to our top 3 then, shall we? In 3rd place, I went for Perez, and he actually outperformed my prediction, which fair play to him.
P3, I went for Alonso. No winner.
That delusion. I don't think he's making your top 3 next week, that's for sure.
Oh shit, I had Hamilton. No. Max Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris. Leclerc could have been there, but he wasn't. Norris, yeah, that's maybe next race, or maybe the race after that.
I went for P2, which is upsetting to say the least, but that did not happen. I think it could have happened without his brake issues, but it did not.
P2, I went for Carlos Sainz, which is really annoying because I backed him, but didn't get this one right, so no point.
And then finally, I went for a really risky strategy here. I went for Max Verstappen as the winner, and I'm going to clock in a point. Love that.
And I did the same, no surprise.
Well done, mate. Well done. So it's 2-2.
Well done,
going into one crazy prediction, where I said Max will win the race by less than 15 seconds. And I'm pretty sure it was 15 seconds come halfway through the race. So I think after that, Max just chilled out. But no points, unfortunately, for me there.
He was literally watching the screen at one point, didn't he? Mentioned in the...
Yeah, he was watching Perez overtake Russell, I think it was. And he even said in the cool-down room, yeah, that was a good move. I saw that. It's like, for God's sake! Bro's watching the race.
Yeah, madness.
What should he else do?
Mechanical issue for the RB20 during the weekend. No. Bulletproof.
Absolutely not. You tried to chef something, and unfortunately you chefed up 20 vehicles finishing the race.
I know.
Well done, Tommy. Now 3 crazy predictions from you wonderful lot. First is M. Lawrence, both Mercedes DNF. That did not happen. Jarrett Ujula, double Q3 for Stake. Nope, that did not happen. And SD Bestie 8, the Ferraris and Mercs are a lot closer to Red Bull than we think, and it's a 3-way fight for the win. I remember reading that and being in dreamland going, God, can you imagine? And we didn't get even another car fighting for the win. So, but hey, Saudi Arabia is up next. A completely...
Leclerc can be good there. So P2 for him.
Different track. It's going to be fast. It's going to be ferocious. It's going to punish mistakes. And we're going to see a crazy one, Tommy, aren't we?
Please be good. It is a track that's delivered in the past, and it's a very different track to Bahrain. So you never know. I hope whatever happens, there's something different thrown into the mix, please.
Fingers crossed. We don't have to wait very long. We're literally back once again next weekend. We'll be live on Twitch, Matt P1 Tommy, for both qualifying and the race, and we'll have all the podcast content both on P1 and also Wheel Knowledge. Don't forget that YouTube channel as well. We're going to be putting some content up on there. And also, do not forget P1 live show tickets if you want to get them. They are selling. So we'd love to see you. And that is it. Tommy, final thoughts?
Monday, Tuesday.
Final thoughts are...
Yeah, 3 days.
My God, it's over.
I've already said it, but just please be good.
Do you say 4 days?
Give us some entertainment.
Tommy's brain is fried, as is mine, but we will see you next week for more delusion. Can't wait to see. Honestly, I'll be refreshed.
No, 3 days, yes.
Come Monday, we're ready to go again. So yeah, we'll see you very soon. Lots of love, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Go away. Be quiet, please. Quiet. Okay, and then we have just Verstappen stuff. I really don't understand why. What's happening? But let's see. Have the race anything new to say? Or will I just mention just Verstappen is apparently doing civil war?
The controversy surrounding Red Bull and its F1 team boss Christian Horner has descended into crisis after
for me, I see this as still Christian Horner made a bad joke to a bad, not to a bad person. A bad joke at a bad time with the wrong person in the wrong place, and that made this controversial ever happen. That's my feeling, because just saying one word can be harassment, so that's my feeling. So calling this a civil war or whatever just Verstappen have said, I mean, he had problem with Perez because he wanted to try to win also. I mean, wow.
Extraordinary tension within the team was made public by Max Verstappen's father, Jos. F1's season opener was dominated by Red Bull with a 1-2 for world champion Max Verstappen and teammate Sergio Perez, but the curtain raiser was overshadowed constantly through a remarkable week in Bahrain. And what was a dream start on track has been nothing less than a nightmare off it. Red Bull and Horner hoped a line could be drawn under the allegations about his conduct towards a female member of staff when the parent company dismissed a grievance against him on the eve of the new season. Instead, it has escalated to new heights, culminating in Jos Verstappen's shock warning that Red Bull Racing will explode if Horner remains in charge.
Yeah, sure.
On Wednesday, ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, Red Bull's parent company opted to keep Horner in his positions as team principal and CEO of Red Bull Racing. This followed the conclusion of the investigation into allegations about his conduct. That was an unsatisfactory outcome for some because of the refusal to disclose more detail, which meant having to take Red Bull on trust that the process really was fair and thorough and its decision was made for the right reasons. But the situation quickly moved well beyond calls for more transparency. About 24 hours after seemingly being cleared, towards the end of Horner's first day in the paddock, a dossier of 79 files implied to be evidence from the investigation was leaked. Screen grabs of alleged messages between Horner and the complainant were sent to more than 100 F1 personnel, including Championship CEO Stefano Domenicali, FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem, all of Horner's rival team bosses, members of the media including us, and Jos Verstappen, who was very much in a group of one. This was widely regarded as a deliberate attempt to destabilise and discredit Horner rather than be an act in the interest of forcing transparency. In Bahrain, it was speculated that Jos might be involved, but he has denied this is the case. The mid-event leak meant the situation didn't end with the conclusion of the investigation, and it gave way to a remarkable tension on Friday due to speculation another leak would come around qualifying, which didn't happen. but Horner did have separate meetings with Domenicali and Ben Sulayem that day to discuss the situation. On race day, Horner was joined by his wife Jerry in a deliberate display of support.
Oh my god, yeah, that's... I would say she maybe is actually supporting him. There is probably nothing problems, but this looks so forced. So it's like it almost make it a bad look.
Interpreted by some as a statement of defiance that kept attention on Horner when he should have been laying low. After Red Bull dominated the Grand Prix, Horner reiterated in his media session he would not comment on the leak, which he described as anonymous speculative messages from an unknown source, or about the intentions of whoever was behind it. A question about whether the messages were genuine was interrupted and blocked by the team before Horner could answer, but with conviction, Horner insisted he believed he would continue to lead the team for the full season. Jos Verstappen's comments have to put that in doubt.
Okay. So what have Jos Verstappen even said? Or is it that yeah.
Jos Verstappen has not only put fresh pressure on Horner by claiming Red Bull and its team are in an untenable situation, he has indirectly called for his head. It's also ensured
Why?
the build-up to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix that follows immediately next Saturday will be dominated by the Saga 2, just as Horner and Red Bull would have desperately wanted this to stop. In interviews with UK newspaper The Daily Mail and Dutch publication The Telegraph given after his son Max cantered to victory in the race, Jos Verstappen has warned that Red Bull Racing will suffer if Horner remains as team principal. He said the situation is bad for the team and is driving people apart with tension in the air, and has been quoted by the Mail as saying the team is in danger of being torn apart and will explode. Despite Horner saying after the race that the result demonstrates where the whole team's focus is, the reality is it faces an ongoing enormous destabiliser. Team members trackside and at the factory will not be able to ignore the situation nor the specifics, not what was leaked, regardless of whether it was all real, and not what Jos has said now.
I mean, define ignore. If every reporter goes and asks them a question about it, surely they can't ignore it. But it's not the definition that they are thinking on it every day. So yeah, sure.
Their attention may not deviate when it counts, as shown by a flawless test and season-opening race, and maybe Horner did retain full or overwhelming support from his team while the investigation was going on and when it was concluded, but his leadership has been compromised by the events of the last few days and maybe even fatally undermined. That is before factoring in what Red Bull's partners may or may not think. Remember, Ford was putting huge pressure on a resolution and demanding transparency, which it may not get, based on Red Bull's parent company not wanting to disclose the investigation's report to protect the privacy of those involved. Jos Verstappen is not a normal racing dad who sits idly by in the background. He intervenes more and wields more influence than you might think. The impact the Verstappen camp has on Red Bull Racing and on how Red Bull handles its F1 business is enormous, and Jos is a key part of that. They have a seat at the table, literally in the team's hospitality units at races, but also in terms of discussing how the team handles various matters, all with the intention of creating the best environment for Max. It means a significant figure related to the organisation and literally to its star driver is speaking out against Horner's leadership, effectively undermining it and indirectly calling for him to leave. His anti-Horner stance will also not help disabuse many in F1 of the notion that Red Bull's F1 operation has split into two factions. When Red Bull co-founder Dietrich Mateschitz died in late 2022, it was always possible that Red Bull Racing would be vulnerable to a fundamental shift in how the parent company wanted to proceed with its F1 program. Many believe that is happening now. There is the Horner-led Milton Keynes base on one side, with Horner also believed to have the support of the Uvidya family that owns 51% of Red Bull's parent company. And then there is the Red Bull parent company's Austrian contingent on the other side, led by Red Bull executive Oliver Mintzlaff, who the Verstappen camp is thought to have aligned with. Inevitably, as the remarkable Bahrain week played out, a topic of discussion was where exactly the pressure on Horner was coming from and whether it would ever relent. This followed a lot of speculation over how the investigation might be expediting an inevitable conflict. On one hand, all that happened was Horner became the subject of due process from a big company. The allegations at the heart of all this were clearly taken seriously enough to warrant a full and lengthy investigation instigated at the parent company's behest. That also fits a trend of Red Bull paying more attention to the F1 team and treating it like a proper part of the business with greater accountability. We obviously hope the investigation was taken extremely seriously, was handled correctly, and took place independently of any power struggle. But one way or another, it has become a part of a much bigger conflict. A civil war has started behind the scenes at Red Bull, and now the first shots have been...
I mean, the civil war. And for me, it is almost like who would stand close to Max Verstappen when they took a family photo? Christian Horner wanted to stand there, but just Verstappen thought he should stand beside his son. And now the civil war has started because of that. That's what I take from this. It's a big joke.
Fired in the open. Horner, Red Bull Racing and Red Bull the company cannot ignore this. There will likely be emergency talks to get ahead of the situation before the race in Jeddah. If not, the rising tension plays out in full view of everybody in F1, and Max will be confronted with this too. He's had to sidestep provocative comments from his father in the past, for instance when a blog post by Jos was posted on the official Verstappen website in response to Red Bull not favouring Max during the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix.
I mean, this is what I mean. Just Verstappen saying something, I mean, it could be just a big joke. Who fucking cares?
A race won by Perez after he had secured a better grid position in part due to crashing in qualifying. But this is on another level entirely, especially as it came little more than 24 hours after Max had praised Horner in the post-qualifying press conference in Bahrain, even though then he stopped short of backing Horner to stay in the position. Max offered what was seen by many as qualified support when asked if he still had full faith in Horner's leadership. He called him an incredible team boss in terms of how he operates within the team, and said you can't even question the performance side. Max said that's his focus and Horner's too, and said what's going on is not our business, referring to himself and Red Bull's trackside team.
No.
But Jos has now made it his son's business by calling the team boss's position into question, which has also detracted from that performance focus.
Yeah,
Whatever
so
Red Bull's
maybe
response
Jos
or
Verstappen
Horner's,
should
it is
leave.
beginning to look impossible that he will be able to ride out the scrutiny and the speculation without further threats to his leadership. Attacks, or at least questions, will keep on coming. Partners are demanding answers, F1 and the FIA are concerned about the damage this is doing to the championship, and rival teams are circling with repeated calls for more transparency.
Yeah,
And on top
why?
of that, Horner now seems to be coming under friendly fire.
Get
It
him.
is a live and volatile...
Just Verstappen be friendly. Yeah, sure. Ask me Michael Schumacher if he was friendly. When someone crashed into him. If not, okay.
situation and may have even moved on by the time you're watching this video. Will Horner respond? What kind of action could Red Bull take?
Why
Could
should
Jos
he
Verstappen
respond?
go even further, and if so, how? Red Bull and Horner must have hoped, even if it was a bit naive, that the controversy would end with the conclusion of the investigation. Instead, it's potentially coming to a head in the...
Yeah, wonder why. Because Jos Verstappen cares so much about the rights? Or is just removing someone for fun? Next, maybe it's Perez. Maybe after Perez we know one more Monaco race. There might be some news about the Perez that he have been a bad person. Wow. Just a lame... Wow, this was a really needed news segment. God damn it. So lame. Yeah, I saw something about the Williams. and let's see if they
It's gonna be a little shaky.
what fun they do. Oh shit.
It's gonna be a little shaky, this one.
You have to watch it. Yeah, you're going to get some hate for that. We can expose Oscar right now. Oscar must be the worst paddle player in Formula 1. Team Talks going up against Joe Rogan.
What's up, everyone? My name's Logan Sargent. I have my great teammate, Alex Albin, with me. And we are going to bring you guys some content. One episode per race weekend. So, yeah, it's going to be cool. We're going to answer a lot of your questions. We're going to bring special guests on the show.
What guest would you like?
I would love to see Tom Brady for
Big guest.
Miami. That's a big one.
Big budget. Team Talks. Team Talks going up against Joe Rogan. We should get Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
All right.
Like, we are new to this, so bear with us. Episode 1's going to be a bit
It's
wonky.
going to be a little shaky, this one.
First off, how's your week been? What have you been up to, Logan?
Week's been good. It's been it's been a little bit quiet. I always have this feeling, should I have gone back to the UK between this gap? Should I have not have?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it was pretty good. We had a fun golf day with the team. Swing's still not very good, but it's getting better.
We were a team, so we were playing a scramble. If people don't know, it's basically you choose the best ball between 4 of you. We had Dan, he's kind of like, what is his job?
He was our best player.
He was definitely our best player, yeah. He could drive the ball straight, that's important. And then we had our chef, Ross. So we had a good team going. We finished.
I was definitely the weak link.
We used out of maybe, how many shots do you use? 72, let's say. We used like 5 of Logan's.
I'll take
Which is
that.
not bad.
I mean,
In the beginning, I thought we weren't going to use any.
but from hole 7, I turned it up a little bit.
You did. You started to hit the ball straight. And when Logan gets hold of it, it goes far. So that was
You have
good.
to give me credit for my putting.
Putting was good. He has a good feel. So Logan would always putt first, and then we could see where the putt was rolling, and then we would try and get it in. But we never actually rolled a putt in from further than.
It was disappointing.
Yeah.
We had a lot of lip outs.
There was a hole where my putt should have definitely gone in, but I swear the hole was.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
I think we should have ripped the flag out, but we didn't, and we hit the flag pin.
I think you did that
bounced
twice.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. We could have won. If them 2 rolled in, we would have. I think we finished 5th or 6th overall.
We were only 3 shots back.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't have won then.
2 or 3.
3
Something
shots
like
back.
that,
Yeah. So, what else?
Other than that, we played paddle the other day.
We
Me,
did.
Alex, Oscar.
We did. Yeah.
Our trainers.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Alex was.
I'm
You
not-
had some good shots.
Considering I've played. That's maybe my 3rd time playing. I was.
I started
I get
strong.
it. You started strong. You had a bit of tired egg.
I definitely had some dag at the end.
We can expose Oscar right now. Oscar must be the worst paddle player in Formula 1. He was awful. In Australia, you'd think they'd be quite good at it. Cricket, tennis. But paddle was not Oscar's thing, was
But
it?
then he would hit some good shots. You
He
could
would.
tell he could get good.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got-
His trainer's very
Very
good.
good.
So his trainer was carrying him hard.
I started with Kim, who's Oscar's trainer, and we went undefeated for quite a few games.
That's true. That is true.
Then we started switching up and just had some fun with it. But
That's true. What else we do? I did some karting as well. Went karting with George and Lando.
how was that? I saw your. How did the 2-seater thing work?
It wasn't as fun as you thought. You had to have one.
Who was steering?
Right, I was doing all of it, and so Logan Lando was the passenger. But that was too boring. So then I gave Lando control over my brake pedal, and I was just keeping it flat out the whole time.
He was on the power.
And he was
braking.
just like smashing the brakes everywhere, which got quite dangerous because in the middle of the straights he was just smashing the brake pedal. So you're just getting these massive lockups, trying to keep the thing straight. But that was good.
Then you had a race between the
We had a
three of you.
race. George's engine was from another planet. It was fully tuned up.
Ferrari 2020, whatever it was.
Basically, I thought so. It was a quali and a shootout. It was a quali shootout, and then a 5-lap race. I thought, for not doing a lap, I thought I nailed this lap out of my butt cheeks. It was an unbelievable lap, and I was like, "That's pole. There's no way no one's got pole. Then
Like that's Bahrain Q3.
that was Bahrain Q3, performed under pressure, just
Nailed it.
but because we literally didn't have any practice, just go out and drive. And then had Lando covered, and then George was like 6/10 up. I was like, there's no way. There's just no way. I don't believe that. And then we did our race, and for the first lap we were fighting, and I thought we were supposed to make it quite exciting for TV, so I started to white line it, just defend like crazy, and and then so we're fighting. I thought, okay, this is fun. This is good for TV. George overtakes, and he just doesn't play the game. He just goes and he
Drops
puts, and he's just like, I'm like, George, back up, like, come on, and he's just there, just focused, just trying to do all his lines. And then a couple laps went past, and he like turns around, and I'm maybe a second behind him. I was playing with Lando. We were having a bit of a fight, and then realised George isn't playing the game. So I was like, I better overtake Lando and actually go after George. Lando's engine was terrible, and then
That's one thing I hate is when the carts are so different.
George was like was looking back, waving his arm like this, thinking like, what you guys doing? What you guys playing at? And whilst he's looking around, turning around, his engine's just. It's like, mate, the reason why we can't catch you is because your engine's got nitro in it. But that was fun.
He had DRS.
Yeah, with last lap, Lando cut half the track and got out into the lead. George, so it was George and Lando were side by side going into the last corner. I was too far back to actually make a move, so I decided to actually just cut the whole track. And did you race Bahrain?
No, I haven't.
In karting?
Actually. It was the one race I missed.
So when we were kids, by the way, everyone, we actually, a lot of drivers have.
So will this just almost be the go-kart talk? The fuck is this?
Actually raced that kart track rather
Why
than
are they
the
cheating?
racetrack. But the last corner is a chicane, and it's a gravel. If you want to cut the chicane, you have to go across the gravel.
It's quite a dangerous track.
Very dangerous, unbelievable. And I went through the gravel trap, and there was this kind of 2-foot gap between the tarmac and the gravel. So the cart just dug in, and I threw up a ton of rocks. Came out the corner first. I thought I've won, and then they just both went past me on the inside afterwards. Hit Lando, a rock hit his neck, and he had like a mark on his neck.
You got to appreciate the commitment.
Yeah, crazy. Otherwise, that was our weekend. So we've had a nice off week.
Let's answer some of their questions.
Yeah, let's move
some
on.
of your questions that the team have prepared for us.
Logan, if you could choose any driver from any era of F1 to be your teammate, who would it be?
Alex Albon.
I've actually answered this question in a Q&A not long ago.
Any era. You know, we just had a special
That was very cool, yes.
a special day where we were filming some stuff which you will soon see.
Yes.
Ooh.
We're at
Hi.
Silverstone with some big dogs.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
And some ex-Williams legends.
Mm-hmm.
And
Was everyone there a world champion?
yeah.
No, they were.
Yeah.
They were, yeah.
I would say
Apart from us two.
I thought it was really cool speaking with Nigel.
He's a good character. What I realized is we're so boring compared to them.
Yeah.
Like the stories they have are just insane. And then there's us, like, minimum tire pressures are up 1 psi this weekend. How's that going to treat the front end?
Well, what I didn't realize.
And they're there just like,
which
this guy, we got him drunk, and then this guy, he's friends with this guy, so he got special tires and all this kind of stuff. You're like, what?
I didn't realize as well, though, that back in the day, there was no weight limit. So the smaller you were, that was a huge advantage.
Crazy. I mean, one of the drivers. I mean, can we say who the drivers are?
I heard they fixed the weight limit after Marcus Ericsson was no longer in the car.
Yeah, Alan Prost. He's tiny, and I mean, if we were racing against each other, you'd have a good advantage over me if it wasn't for this
we're quite
regulation.
close now.
Yeah, we're closer this year for sure. But still, imagine Yuki.
Yeah, he'd be flying.
Yuki would be 5-time world champion by now. Unbelievable. So yeah, who would your teammate be then?
I would go with Nigel. I thought
Nigel. Yeah,
he
was.
seemed like a
yeah.
good character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would be fun. What about you?
So I went for the opposite end of the spectrum. I was thinking game plan is to choose the worst teammate I could. so that it just makes me look good. So I went to the 1950s and just chose some driver who wanted to drive in Formula One because he could. And I'll look at the stat sheet and I'll just take someone from the bottom of the list and I'll just say he'll be my teammate.
All right, excluding results. Who would,
for personality.
Yeah. Who would be fun to have a go with?
Fun for what reason? Just
character, personality, whatever. I don't know.
Ooh.
Cool to learn from. I don't know.
Who would be like someone crazy? Who's just James Hunt? James Hunt. He's not me though. He's cool, but he's not.
I feel like
he's not. Our personalities aren't the same.
Nikki could be cool.
Louder.
Yeah.
Yes. No, but I'm thinking more like who was wild, like.
What do you mean by wild in what sense?
I don't know. I'm just thinking like didn't care for anything.
Who didn't care? Oh my god, who could... I really don't know.
Just flamboyance.
Literally.
I was thinking like maybe. Yeah, but he's more of like in a playboy way. I'm just thinking like outright nuts, like Guy Martin from Isle of Man, but racing form. Not really sure. I'm sure there's one. I'm sure people will comment about it, but someone like that. Just maybe
cannon.
I'm sure there is drivers that I just can't remember or they were past my time, but one of them guys I just want to watch and see them just like shouting at the engineers like it's crazy.
Like Schumacher, remember?
Alright, we took a while to answer
yeah,
that
we should move along. I think this is almost 20 minutes. Do you have any pre-race rituals?
Nothing in particular. I think most drivers are pretty similar in the sense of we go through our warm-ups, we listen to our music.
Drake.
We talk to our engineers. We
Drake,
get ready.
Pitbull.
I
can imagine you as a Pitbull guy.
50 Cent.
What does he say? What's his intro? Mr. Worldwide.
No, I would say I kind of been like on the Fisher vibe lately. The house EDM.
I've been listening.
Full push.
I've been kind of opposite, but still same thing. I've been listening to like deep house, but like relaxing deep house. Like
Fisher's last couple of remixes have been
really
crazy.
Or just play them loud in the driver's room. The way that our driver rooms are connected, there is basically.
No, you haven't seen it.
It's changed.
Now we have our own full huge rooms. It's great.
Wow. Okay. During the test, we were sharing the same room, so whatever Logan was complaining about, I could hear him. Whatever he was whinging about or crying about.
Same goes both.
Same. Anyway, for me, not really. So in the beginning of my racing career, I had a lot of rituals, and then I stopped because I felt like it's not good to be too superstitious. So not anymore. Not anymore. Okay, what's your dream road car, Logan?
Well, you had the time when you color your hair.
I haven't asked you this question.
It depends if we're sticking.
But it was more after you got
with
points.
Modern or classic?
Anything, any budget, I would say. But just don't take the most expensive one. Just 'cause
I would say at the moment would be like a. Well, you'll like this, but a Porsche 911 GT3.
Oof.
Wait,
Very
what?
nice.
What did it say?
Like this, but a Porsche 911.
Well, what is
Any
the question?
budget, I would say. But just don't take the most expensive.
With modern or classic?
Anything superstitious. So not anymore. Not anymore. Okay, what's your dream road car, Logan? I haven't asked you this question.
It depends if we're sticking With modern or classic?
Anything. Anything.
Road car, question mark?
Any budget, I would say. But just don't take the most expensive one just because
I would say at the moment would be like a. Well, you'll like this, but a Porsche 911 GT3.
Oof. Very nice.
Okay, so they will... Oh my god. I thought something else. It have the same numbers, but a different meaning.
But classic car, I love the 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1.
Very American.
Yeah.
Like,
but it is
Mach 1.
It is beautiful.
Mach 1 is not the. That's before Gone in 60 Seconds Mustang. That's like
more.
the older generation.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know the silver and blue one? Have you watched Gone in 60 Seconds?
No. What is it? A movie?
It's like one of the best movies ever.
I'll have to
With
watch it.
Nicolas Cage. And he's stealing loads of cars.
No, I'll have to check it out.
This guy. it's like if you, am I the only one here? It's like
Has
the
anyone
one
watched
racing.
Gone in- You have? Everyone has?
One of the non-racing guys is shaking his head.
So it looks like I'm gonna have to.
You have to watch it. Yeah, you're gonna get some hate for that.
Sorry, well, good thing I have some long flights coming up.
Yeah. Okay. For me, it would be. Honestly, you have good choices. I would say I'm definitely more of a classic car guy.
Yeah, I know you love your classic Porsches.
I would say I've been driving a couple of Singers over the winter break. They were
no
very
budget,
fun.
huh?
Not mine, I can tell you that. But
What are you on?
You get paid?
You get paid?
I would say, yeah, Singer. So I drove they have a DLS one, which is like their kind of RS version of a GT3. So it's their kind of track focused one. That was really good. I'll have one of them, and then I'd have a. I'd love to have like a vintage 3, so like a classic Porsche, a classic like Land Rover, and a classic Alpha.
So Porsche
And
also.
There would be my 3 that I just go around in. You know what I really like as well?
Classic Aston.
The Jimneys, the Suzuki Jimneys. I think they're super cool. I want to get one for Monaco. You know the little GP things?
No.
New fish.
They're actually quite relatively affordable. Aren't they?
Magnetan pink.
They'll be like 20 grand new. There's a bit of a waiting list on them right now. You can customize them. You can get body kits to make them look like mini G-Wagons.
Can also be new fish.
I saw one going
Pink
into
and
track
yellow.
yesterday. I was like, oh my god. So they literally got a kit to make it, and you can get like the Brabus looking ones. You know how they have like that fluorescent orange interior?
Yeah.
You can get it like that fluo orange interior, and it's like a mini G-Wagon. Super cool. Okay, everyone, that's all we've got time for. That was episode 1 of Team Talk.
Holy shit, okay. So they talked about what driver they would maybe have in the team. But what car? The go-kart. Cheating go-kart gate. And yeah, the holy ritual before a race. So was it anything interesting?
I hope you guys enjoyed and didn't get
Probably
confused
not.
or annoyed by all the ramblings.
We definitely went off on a bit of
Yeah. We'll tighten it up. We'll be better episode 2.
I think like we're gonna improve.
Maybe
every
making it
episode.
longer.
And,
still figuring out.
Tell us some of the guests you want on the show too.
Yeah.
We can use that as leverage to get them. Think big, like David Beckham,
Max Verstappen.
Silverstone. Think,
Go large.
yeah. And that's it, really. I think that's it. Yeah. Goodbye.
Oh my
See-
god. Michael Schumacher. Could maybe be one. But that will probably not. That will probably never happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all thing I plan to watch. So yeah, we say goodbye for now. Let's see if more stuff will happen the other days, but first I will Saudi Arabia start and qualify on Friday and race on Saturday. That will probably be fun. Who knows? But